Hi guys, well here we are in Bangkok. We've had an epic 10 days together here. We've just finished up Telecom World Asia where it was really the first time we really got to show our in-depth insights to telecom providers, operators. We've been working so hard to get it ready and we thought this would just be a perfect time to get together, record an AMA, answer some of your questions and give an update of everything we've been doing over the last year because it has been pretty epic and mind blowing. And yeah, so Edu,
Yeah,
what do you think?
it's just being unbelievable. I mean, first of all, Thailand, it always delivers. I mean, what a country! People are amazing, so warming, helpful. It's just wonderful. Okay, Thailand is always. And now, by the way, top tip: perfect temperature in the entire year. It's just being fabulous. So anyway, weather aside, it's been an epic week in Telecoms World Asia last week, where we finally did the soft launch. We've been working, and we have to apologize with the community because we haven't really been very active with the community because just being head down, buried to try and get this done for last week. We could not fail delivery. We had to come and show all of these large operators everything we've been working for in all this time,
Yeah,
and finally we're delivering.
yeah. I mean, we always talk about deep in and where the demand comes from. You know, and you can work so hard getting supply, getting users, getting all of that data come in, unless you can really turn it into something useful that lots of different companies can use. You'll never have that demand that you can then push back to really grow the ecosystem. So a little quick history of Qualoo. We come from the telecom world. We've been working as consultants, as engineers for 2 decades, and during that time, we realized that I was just completely broken. How all of these operators and telecoms were actually finding problems, they were hiding problems, and this meant that people all over the world had really bad internet, and it was going on for years and years and years. And when we become consultants working in the space, in some of the projects that we did, we found issues sometimes in the first day of the project once we started getting the data flowing that have been going on for years. So we realized that we need to do something drastic. We need to do something epic that's on a global scale to really change the quality of internet for everybody. And you can't do that when you're just working with one provider here and there when it's really a systemic problem that's affecting everybody. So we've been on this mission to build a global network that powered by the people, where they get rewards and incentives to be able to change that to insights. So we not only can map the quality of internet all over the world, but we can also put all of that experience, engineering knowledge into the insights. So we remove the burden from governments, regulators, telecom providers. So when your internet drops and you get so frustrated, our network will pick that up, see where it's coming from, and already be able to pass that to the telecom provider. So you can essentially collapse issues that would have took years into sometimes minutes or hours. And the net impact of that is huge savings for the telcos. Everything's a lot more efficient, and everybody can get better internet. And the real power of everybody running nodes, contributing to the network means that we grow the network, we can cover more countries and cover more providers and help everybody get better internet.
Exactly. So moving from a very specialist, high-end, you know, consultancy type of model, we thought we want to change the world. The world nowadays is moving towards we need internet for everything. I mean, we just had some pretty big outages from main cloud companies. We're not going to name them, but everything was the main things: banking, education, work, hospitals. They just didn't have access. It was chaos. So we need the internet more than ever, and it will continue to be even more so. Therefore, we needed to do something drastic. And we thought, okay, well, we're going to put all our knowledge, everything that we've learned on how we go around the world. We've gone around the world helping all these operators and fixing the issues they didn't know themselves how to fix. And we put that into software. That software has gone into mobile devices. So we launched the mobile Android mobile app, then the iOS app, the Apple app shortly after. And with that knowledge in those devices, plus physical nodes that we can put all over the world in routers or routers, if you in American English, that data that you're all generating for the benefit of the entire world. We've been developing, and this is what we've been working so hard. I mean, making the app, building it up, has been somewhat complicated because of how we do these intensive tests. But the biggest difficulty is how we're collecting so much data all around the world, how we're actually managing it real time, how we're storing it in a way that's easy to access, and then we, with our insights, the customer portal can actually access it and have real-time view, and it's moving really nice and smoothly. So it's been epic getting there.
So, I mean, we wanted to talk a little bit about the challenges in doing that. You know, when we used to do this on consultancy projects, we developed this methodology over, almost 15 years, field testing, knowing what data collect, how to collect it, how to interpret it, how to find the problems. But that was using really specialist equipment, and you had direct access into the telecom network. You know, you would be installing servers, you would be installing specialist devices, you needed special permission and setup and the logistics. You would be doing drive tests and all that kind of stuff. When that's not very good if you want to do that for the entire planet, because how would you even fund it? How would you even get everybody to coordinate and collaborate? You've got all different languages, you've got different governments, it would be a nightmare. So we always had this idea that if we could only just create an incentivized layer and buy everybody into the mission, what we're trying to do, and that is make sure that everybody, wherever you live, wherever you are, whatever class, whatever country, you get equitable internet that you can use to take part in a one world economy. And it's become so apparent now that if you're not online, you're missing out. And when you are online, you have so many opportunities and things like that. So the transition to go from specialist, expensive equipment into running it on everyday devices, mobile apps, you've got so many considerations in doing that. One is you need to make sure that the measurements are accurate, and you can't drain people's battery too much, you can't use the data too much. So you've got that, and all of the phone operating systems are not designed for apps to run in the background, so you've got to try and optimize all of that. And with iOS having so much limitations, we try in so many different ways to get the best accuracy. And there's not just factors on the phone and the devices that you've got to think about. You've also thinking about how all of the different networks are behaving. Some of them have different policies of how much data you can send, how many packets, how many, all of this kind of stuff. And it really took a long time to really get that ready. And in doing that, we started to build on a lot of different devices, and that grew. As that complexity grew, we found more and more challenges. So that's when we decided to really start with a single low-level programming language, so we can run really close to the base machine, really accurate data, much more secure, much more low footprint, so we can pretty much run on every modern device, routers, small Raspberry Pis or phones. And Qualoo Network is really going to map the entire planet's internet. So it's every technology, every provider, every country. It doesn't really matter, because the connectors the customer would. And the other big challenge from going from the kind of consultancy model or the provider by provider model, you would then have a fully costed model. They're paying in advance, you're setting things up on site. Now we're building it around the edge, powered by the people, so we have to manage the data in a much more efficient way, because we're collecting data on everybody, we're doing all of the insights on everybody, so a lot of compute, a lot of processing, and you need to be able to handle that effectively, so you're not going to run up into huge costs, because the more efficient we are, the more power in the insights, the more revenues we can get in, the more we can share back to the users who share from that circular economy.
Yeah, so that's a good rundown on a lot of what we've been going through. I mean, if everything is explained about the difficulties on writing the software for the mobile app and the nodes, the physical nodes, I can't even begin to tell you the difficulties of the back end and how we're processing all the data, the incredible amount of data that all of you guys are generously providing for yourselves as well, for the mission, like as Keith just explained, which is making the internet better for everyone together.
Yeah,
everywhere.
And and that's been really important because we have all of these complexities, all these variations going on in networks and countries and issues, and putting that. So it's been really important that you guys have been running your tests and going around and trying different devices. And I mean, even since we launched the early kind of versions of the app, and it was just January, we've got data coming in from over 170 countries and over 5,000 operators, over 700 carrier providers, for mobile, fixed, all of the international routes and everything like that. You just could not get that using the kind of centralized model. So that's why we love Deepin. That's why we come to Deepin when we were looking for a solution. Even though we've been working on this for a lot longer than Deepin word even existed, but it just kind of come along to summarize exactly what it is. And but the Qualoo network isn't just your typical Deepin. We have a lot of different elements because Deepin helps us source the data. We also processing it, we're storing it, we're analyzing it, interpreting it, putting all of that knowledge that we've used to solve the most hard problems. We've solved issues in stabilized countries that other major consultancies, other major engineers just couldn't fix, and we did that very quickly. So we knew what we had was special and it needed to go global, and that's why we embarked on this journey, because we want to make the internet better for everybody. It's going to take all of us. It's a lot of teamwork, and we're getting to the exciting bit now because the insights are coming out, the value. We've really done a lot of progress on the common portal that ISPs, your telecom providers, your governments, and eventually regular users and businesses are all going to be logging into to get what they need, and everybody's going to get a little bit out of it, whatever they are. Creating the Google Maps of the internet for everybody to use is no mean feat, and we understood that once we build it, once we get the data right, once we get everything moving, that was a clear blue sort of ocean opportunity to really turn it on. And we've got so many different ways that we're going to generate revenue from this, right? Lots across different stakeholders and use cases. So it's really getting to the exciting bit. So we wanted to give you a rundown of this and also answer a lot of the questions, because the community has obviously been sending questions in. We got a lot of users getting excited about the project and the mission, and so we wanted to go into a few of the questions that we've got, and help you guys with the latest rundown on everything.
Yeah. So there was an AMA that I was lucky to do with the Kenya team. Wonderful people in Kenya, by the way. One of the countries that they asked us to come and speak, and the internet that was set up in two of the schools, and how excited the children were. It was fantastic feeling. Please check our YouTube videos and don't miss it. We still have more videos from Africa that will be uploaded soon. We've been so flat out that we haven't even been able to upload those, but there are still a couple up there already that you'll find quite interesting. So yes, in that AMA, we did answer some interesting questions, and we have some more. So we brought a laptop here with the questions that some of you have been asking. This user, we're not going to say names just to keep it simple. This user is saying that basically he or she wants to be, they like the project very much and they want to be more involved, and they really want to be getting more points. What is the best way for them to get more points? So basically the answer is, first of all, well done. It's great, and we're welcoming everybody who wants to make the internet better for everyone together. And we have ways, and we have campaigns we're running constantly. We just have a new one running. We had another one last month that was already sending tasks with multiple points, so actually giving double points for referring friends, which is one of the best ways to cooperate, because if you are telling your friends one-on-one, you say, this is a really good project and it's going to help everyone on the planet, really, then you're getting a lot of points. Just without even a normal task, it's already 500 points. It's really good. So making that one-on-one invitation is a lot more personal, it's a lot more special, and then people will really pay attention to it. So that's really good. But on our campaigns, we're giving you, for now, on this campaign, on this month right now, double points for friend referrals and global tasks, and we're doing a lot more points. So that's one of the ways. Test more on the move. So if you're moving more than 15, 20 meters and you're mapping wherever you're going, the quality of the internet where you're going. So do more testing, invite friends, come participate in our campaigns. That's basically the short answer. And the more tests you do, the better, obviously. So another user is asking, sometimes on the move mapping points is not working. And this is one of the issues that Keith was explaining on, Android and Apple. They're making things difficult for us as we are requesting things that I still don't understand why they don't want us to get, but that's the point. It doesn't matter. The point is, there is, from an Android version that's quite new, they are stopping any process that's in the background for too long, for many hours. But the only solution is for you to check as you're moving, open the app, open the activity screen, and in there you will see on the map moving points, and you see as you're moving, it should be increasing. If it's not increasing, I mean, at first there could be a delay because of network issues, but if in 5-10 minutes it hasn't moved, just reboot the phone, because it's the operating system. It's not our fault. It's the operating system from Android. Stop the process in the background. Even if the app's working fine, it's stopping that mapping feature. So you reboot the phone, and then everything should be fine. So that explains. Actually, several users were asking about that. And by the same token, on iOS, on the Apple phone or tablet, we have an even bigger difficulty on actually ensuring that things work in the background. So you have to have the app open all the time. So what I do is when I'm driving or walking, I just open and phone unlocked, and then it's mapping everywhere you go. And the tests are also, it's also much better that you run the test with, on the foreground, with you can see the test is being run, because our tests are very, very detailed, and we need to ensure that all the processing power of your device is focused on that process, on the tests, so that the data coming to us is accurate. Okay, so we'll continue. That's the other question. I've answered both of those. Okay, so another very interesting question. Does Qualoo plan to do weekly hex map refresh on the move mapping similar to other deeping projects? Because after some time has gone by, potentially that data might be obsolete. But that's not the case. It's not obsolete, because what most projects are doing, and when they're mapping, they're just mapping actual radio coverage, which usually doesn't change very much. It's usually quite stable. So once you do it, that's fine. That can stay. But for us, we're mapping a lot more. We're mapping the quality in depth. So that's live. The internet is alive. 24/7, every day of the week, different days of the week has different performance, because you have how many people are connected, what else is happening, on all the net interconnections. It's a lot that's going on. So the old tests, they're not obsolete. They're history that we need, because we need to see how the internet has behaved all along, every day, every week, every month, right? Of course, it's better to have, because we want to know what's happening all the time, it's better that you keep mapping as often as you can. But it's not obsolete data per se. Yeah. And let's see. So basically, all of this I just explained. Okay, and a very good question. Will you be able to see the hex mapping? Because right now, as you know, on the app, when you go, after you've run a test, you go to the bottom and it says show map. So you see the quality with the lines showing the quality. The green is good quality. Yellow is, well, it's still acceptable. Orange is, well, that's already not good. And red is, that's terrible. And that's the connections to all the hosts that we work with around the world. So at the top right, you have an area where it says layers. So if you click there, I guess most of you have already seen it, then you actually see what you have mapped. It's the user that mapping. So only the own user's mapping is not actually what anybody else has mapped. But going forward, yes, we will be able to show what everybody's mapped, but what everybody, you only or everybody. It's never going to be a specific user, because privacy issues, data going forward, we don't really know who's who other than you on your app. Okay, so that was a very interesting question. And another one is asking if we're going to have the testing done automatically, right? Or maybe just click once a day or something. So for now, that's quite unlikely, given that, as I was just explaining, the tests done are very in depth, and you need to ensure that you have the app open on the foreground and all the processing power of the device is focused on the running the tests. So in fact, what's probably going to happen is the other way around, is that we probably just going to have to allow, particularly in Apple, if you start running the test and you open something else, it's going to pause. So you have to have it open all the time. And in Android, it's better if you do too.
Yeah, exactly. But this is also good for bringing in some more gamification features. We've got some new features coming down that are going to be, really useful. And you're going to be in the app when you're doing that as well. We do still do background tests that are performing it, but as Eduardo and them said, like when you're doing really detailed measurements and you want really accurate measurements, then you need to do that in the foreground.
Yeah.
But we are going to have the software on the fixed nodes as well, and that is automated.
True.
So the fixed, so the Qualoo network is covering every network. It's not just your mobile. We're going to have physical devices. We've already got the software ready for that, and you can plug that in and forget about it.
Yeah,
and
fire and forget.
It's going to be running every 15 minutes or so in the background. It's going to be doing a much wider series of tests than even the mobile, because you don't have those kind of constraints of power consumption and data and stuff. So we can do a bit more on that. And then also those nodes could also be put to work in other kind of special ways.
Yeah.
So so the way we see the network is all of these different types of nodes doing different kind of things, doing mapping in a different way, but it actually builds up that fingerprint of this intelligence layer for the entire internet. So it's given that, hyper-localized intelligence, finding the issues, across your public Wi-Fi, your home Wi-Fi, office Wi-Fi's, your mobile networks. And this is basically our entire way of connecting and making sure that it works well for everyone. So all of the nodes are going to be important. But yeah, if you don't want to keep doing those tests, you can get a fixed node, plug it in, forget about it, and then you'll be earning your tokens.
It's actually good that you're mentioning what's upcoming. We're not going to say it on this AMA because we don't want to just let every bit of information out just yet. But there are lots of very cool gamification options that are coming on the app that you're gonna love. So, stay alert. And now we're coming to a question that, only one or two people have asked. Not many people have asked about TGE.
Yeah.
Not many people.
But no other project either as well. But yeah, I mean, with any project, especially deep in projects, you hear a lot of people talk about this deep in flywheel effect, right? And it's really important to spin up your network, make sure it's got good health, good community, good users, data flowing, and revenues flowing to then flow back into the ecosystem. So you're basically building an ecosystem up from scratch, and it's important to make sure that everything's functioning well, because the token is a key part of that ecosystem. It's going to fuel the ecosystem going forward once everything's in a good state. And like many other projects and investors and partners and other advisors is, we always hear that when revenues is really important now, so having revenues to flow back into your flywheel to run is when the kind of TGEs come in. And we've done a lot of the complex stuff. We're well on the way. We've almost there. And Edwin, what else?
I mean, it's very important to understand for all our users to understand. Going TGE is very, very important. It's many projects that's all they have. All they have is their token. It's not a useful project other than the hype, the marketing, and then pump and dump, or just meme coins that are making. Anyway, I'm not going to criticize other projects, but what it's important to realize is that our project has a utility, a real world utility that's very important, and that's the main part of it. The token is super important. Of course, it's super important for many reasons, but we want to do it properly. And through all this experience that we've been building, working with other, going to all these summits and conferences, and we meet founders of other projects, and they tell us their experience is super valuable. Then we know what mistakes. So many have told us, you know what, we've made this mistake, that mistake. We're not going to really explain it publicly, but it's a huge learning lesson for us, and we want to do it well. And
Yeah,
actually, having revenues is one of the main things, because you want it to be a stable token that is
yeah.
not. Sorry.
And that's a big part of the tokenomics design, and we've worked very closely with our partners, Academic Ventures, and designing the token economy and utility, and having that revenue to flow back into token buybacks to support the network is key, and it's we've come to the point now where we've started our sales cycle, we're starting to engage with telcos and regulators, and we've had such a successful time at this point. To wait just a little bit longer to get those revenues in isn't something it's not saying we want to delay it more than we need to, but the kind of clients and we're talking about government, major telecom networks and stuff like that, real big companies that we can build a lot of real FOMO and a real hype around real products and real services, real demand that's going to make real world impact. And at Qualoo, we're building a critical part of internet infrastructure here that's going to run on forever. And a big part of that is the tokenomics, and the key part is the node operators and the users, because it's powered by the people. Yeah. It's got to be decentralized, otherwise everyone will be covering up all the bad service. We'd never get anything done. And so I mean, we're prioritizing in the right steps, and I didn't want to run.
Yes, it's in everyone's interest that we do this right. I mean, it's crypto. It's a token. Once you write the smart contract, there's no change in it. So we need to ensure that it's done correctly. And it's in all of your interest that you're investing on all this work you're doing. You want it to be good, and you want it to be lasting, and you don't want some pump and dump simple project that then your token is worthless. No, this is a different type of token that's going to be very valuable, and it's going to be going the long run. So it's a different project, and you guys have identified it, which is why you're using Qualoo.
Yeah.
So please, I mean, yes, we wish we would have already done it, but it's just too much to do properly, and it is in everyone's interest to do so. So yes, trust us, because we do want this to be working well forever. So forever.
Yeah. I mean, when we talk about some of those complexities earlier, it leads to delays because you're innovating, you're doing something that hasn't been done before, and you're overcoming all of these hurdles to make sure you do it right. And if the token was out too early, then that's the product, and all of the focus goes to that, and then you have to spend a lot more money on marketing to keep the hype without the product. Whereas doing it this way, you can bring real hype based on real services, bringing on real stuff, and making a real impact to the world. And,
exactly.
That's
the other question some users have asked is, what's the value in the points versus the token? And nobody knows that yet, because we have different types of points which are going to be worth different things. We have many things in the making, and it's better. No, it's not better. The calculation needs to be done, and that can only be done soon before TGE. So it's not exactly just yet.
Yeah.
So we'll continue with the questions.
Yes, so I mean, we're currently building with IoTex. IoTex has been an early backer of ours. We were on the IoTex accelerator program, Deep in Surf, like just over a year ago, and been pretty crazy on that. So we're continuing to build in some of IoTex's functions. With IOID, we're going to be writing the results of the blockchain, things like that. But the long-term vision of what we're testing and integrating is we're going to be multi-chain, because there's lots of different products, AI, DeepIn, robotics, all on different chains, and all need quality of service and nodes running on them. So we're going to be dipping into everything. But at the minute we're launching on IoTex, but there's definitely a couple of other kind of long-term things that we're working on.
Yeah. And then the last couple of questions is, one of them is, some users are thinking that you only get points for mapping a new hex, and that's not the case. Yeah. Because as I explained earlier, it's always valuable that you come back to the same places that you're testing, always in the different Wi-Fi places and in the different areas, because we want to know the quality throughout the day, the nights, every day of the week.
There's a lot of things happening in those hexes, and you think in one hex. And this is where the hyper-localized experience comes in. Is because you've got multiple providers, multiple situations, multiple time of day. So it's yes, we want to reward and create incentives around finding new hexes and going and exploring and going off there to test more. But there's so many different dimensions in each hex that you're always going to get your data
Yeah.
points and rewards. And
You
things
will
like
get
that
the
for,
points.
for
Just
whenever you're
remember to have the app open and the activity screen on, so you can see that the points are moving. And if that's not working, just reboot your phone. And the last question is, what about node sales? Are we going to sell them? When do they start? And that's a nice little way to to finish this AMA, to leave actually the question back to you guys. We've actually been, all this software we've been building, we've been testing different devices, and
Yeah.
we're quite happy with a couple of them. And we're thinking it could be an option to be putting them on sale.
And so this is really good, and it's having the same Qualoo core that runs on the mobile and the fixed devices, but the behavior they run different tests in different scenarios, and having that single code base that we can port to different devices, it really opens unlimited possibilities for us, especially with some telecom providers saying, can you run this direct on the routers I have in people's homes, or can I run it on this type of device? So you can imagine where this is going to go in the future. And this is not just mapping and performing data, it's also got functions of like the wallet and all this kind of stuff, and being able to do the blockchain functions as well. So it's we're really excited to get it out. So yeah, we'd love to hear whether you're up for buying a node, and we'll open a wait list and see how it goes. And we're just kind of finalizing the devices and things like that, and it's coming pretty soon.
Okay, so we're going to finish this showing you this beautiful city, Bangkok. It's amazing.
Yeah. So this is our
Bit of
final
a
night in
skyline.
Bangkok before we go our
Yes.
separate ways. We've had the last 10 days of it, so after the conference, building the insights and working on all of the stuff we need to do.
It's been intense, to say
yeah.
the least, but it's always wonderful to be working together, Keith and I.
Yeah.
And please have a look at this beautiful city, and see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Thanks. Let's make the internet better together. Don't forget it.